On the fourth day of Christmas, namely 90s gave to me. 4 time loops, 3 young kids, 2 prophetic dreams, and a refrigerator day bonus.
Welcome to Namely 90s, the podcast that takes you back to the time before smartphones, Google, and Y2K. Join your hosts as they relive the pop culture that shaped a generation and the parts that many people wish they could forget. Listen in to the conversation about how the decade defined those who spent their childhood there and how it shaped them as adults. So, turn down the grunge and dial up the internet. Let's get started. It's time for Namely 90s.
That's right. You're listening to Namely 90s. My name's Andrew, and over there is Brandon.
That's me.
As usual, you can find us online at namely90s.com or on Twitter and Instagram at namely90s with the 90s. If you'd like to watch the show on YouTube, head on over to namely90s.com/YouTube. And finally, if you'd like to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/namely90s with the 90s. Happy Christmas Eve, and welcome to the 4th episode of our 2021 12 Days of Christmas specials. How's it going, Brandon?
Good. Happy Christmas Eve. You sound a little under the weather there.
Yeah, it's between the 3rd episode and the 5th episode, I just got this mystery cold. You know, just it happens. And my hair got cut randomly and then grows back in one day.
And then it's gone away before it comes back in the 10th episode.
Yes, very good continuity here.
Yes.
Anyway, as usual, we have a very special guest who Brandon will now introduce.
Wow. Took everything away from me to be funny or punny with.
You're welcome.
That's right. We do have a very special guest, too, in fact, from a very special podcast. We have Patrick M. Dunn returning from last year.
Yeah.
And Kat Halstead, the author, who was, I believe, stuck in traffic bringing us appetizers from Applebee's last year, as we joked, due to her internet.
Yeah, turns out the boneless wings were on back order due to COVID.
For a year. Hi, Kat.
Hi, guys.
Welcome. It's good to finally see you for more than a second before you blip out.
Yes.
Well, it's that whole
it was like Thanos snapped and I disappeared.
Right.
I was going to blame it on the 5th dimension if you went away this time.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen. It was, we had fun last year talking ER with you, Patrick. We were sad Kat couldn't join us, but recently on a very special podcast for your, what was it, your Thanksgiving extravaganza, was it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to talk to each other because you're the people that talk on your podcast about ER, a very special episode of ER.
I think they're all special.
Now, which episode was this?
It was the first season Thanksgiving episode. It's the one where there's this vegetarian, vegan, animal lover kind of guy who.
He has like the he gets pecked to death by the birds or whatever.
Yeah, he tries to save a turkey from. I want to say it was like, was it at a mall, Cat? Like I can't.
Yeah, it was like at a mall or something, and he like rescues the turkey. He like pulls it into his car, and like the turkey attacks him, and he gets arrested, and then he kills the turkey in the car, and then he feels bad about it.
And then he later eats it.
But then the ER guy cooks the turkey, and he eats it, and he feels good about it.
Oh, there's like a scene at the end of the episode
really
where
creepy and dark. Yeah,
they're just kind of handing out the turkey on plates, and they hand it to this guy, and he just kind of turns around and faces his back to the camera. But then the camera angle changes, and you just see him biting the turkey, and he has this big grin on his face. It was just classic moment from ER.
There's just no chance I'm like in the ER and just eating this turkey that they prepared. God only knows where. Like it just sounds disgusting, and also like a health code violation.
They did it in the suture room. Is that where they defeathered and like prepared the turkey?
Oh dear.
Yeah, they defeathered it. Carol's creepy boyfriend got like really excited about plucking this bird. He's like, "Oh, I grew up on sure, I'll do it. And the guy was in the other room, like the prom room, while they were like trying to patch him up, and the window was like the blinds were open, and you just see like this guy going ham on these feathers flying. It was insane.
It was a great episode.
It truly is.
Yes. You know what? They know how to bang out holidays. I'll tell you that.
But I guess I should have asked you to tell us about your podcast for those of our listeners that don't remember from last year what a very special podcast is.
Shall we let the lady in the room explain it? I feel like you're really good at describing the podcast.
I feel like I describe it a lot.
You did.
We discuss classic TV shows. We'll take a random episode and discuss it. And then we talk about what else was on that night, what we think we would watch. We get obsessed about really random things from a time period. And like, we'll not let that thing go. There's always things that come up.
I always like the what else was on portion, because it's like, was it the same episode that was on ABC? It was what's the show?
Chicago Hope.
No, it was My So-Called Life and Matlock appeared together.
Matlock was on? Wow. That's
and we were baffled by the pairing of those two shows. We were like, why would ABC, it's 8 o'clock, My So-Called Life, and then an hour later, Matlock. Like two completely different shows together.
The older people would not be able to stay up for Matlock at 9, and the young people are like, what is Matlock? I'm going to watch ER instead.
Well, ER was later, though. That was an hour later, though.
It was 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
We had the gory scene of a turkey being defeathered on network television in 1994. So.
It's ahead of its time, really.
The year before, you saw the guy's ass on NYPD Blue. Now you see a naked turkey. It's
you know what? They show an ass in this episode of ER.
Yes, they do. Isn't it Garrett Morris's ass?
Yeah, it's Garrett Morris's ass, and there's like a rose sticking out of it.
No, it's a sunflower. It's a sunflower.
Yeah, I remember that. Isn't the guy with the turkey guy, isn't he like a character actor that's in quite a bit of stuff? I feel like he looks familiar to me.
Yeah. He looks really familiar. I don't know his name, but
we may have at the time.
Like a million things.
Maybe a couple weeks ago we knew the name, but
and Andrew needs to go back and listen to that episode. He would have a good time.
I love me some ER.
So you're at like 240 episodes. How long have you been at the podcasting game? And
7 years? It's
been 7 years.
7 years.
We did our 7th anniversary this September.
That's awesome.
We take,
like, I realized just the other day it lasted longer than my longest relationship.
Wow.
We take a lot of breaks in between, though. You know, sometimes we get sick of each other and we just need time off.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well, that and I'm a workworkaholic.
Yeah.
And
sometimes I feel you.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll be like, she'll be like, hey, we're going to record tonight at like 10. I'm like, okay. And I never show up.
Because you've fallen asleep.
Yeah. Like Wednesday.
Yeah. I've done it. Sorry.
But I mean that your dynamic is fun because it's you've known each other. Like, can you explain the how you met originally and like how that developed into a friendship? And
this is great. So want me to share the story, and you can just kind of like jump in at the parts that I'm wrong because I misremember them.
Yeah, I will correct you, Patrick, because that's what I do. I woman's.
Yeah. We actually got a direct message comment from an anonymous person that said that they like the show, but they dislike that Kat woman-splains everything to me.
I mean, that's awesome. You gotta lean into that one.
Oh, we have been.
Yeah.
All right. So, what year is it now? 2021.
Yep.
We're still in 21.
Yeah, 2021 now.
All right. So 23-ish years ago, we'll say 1997. It was a different world.
1996.
I'm sorry. It was a different world. And Kat and I we both got super into this very short-lived daytime soap opera called Sunset Beach that was on the air for like 3 years that maybe 27 people in the world watched. And it was It was produced by Aaron Spellin, who did like Melrose Place and Beverly Hills 90210. So it was just kind of that kind of show. It's like really for like younger people and not, I don't know, the elderly who's into Guiding Light or whatever. So I just randomly one day like found this AOL form dedicated to it. And it was it a chat room or like a message board? I can't quite remember exactly what it was.
Okay, I think it was an AOL chat room.
Okay. And
I think we found each other somehow because of Sunset Beach and we started talking.
Yes. But you'd go to this chat room and there'd be like 6 people in there. And then maybe a year into it, it was just like 3. And the 3 of us, there's like a little like group of 3 people. We still talk together all these years later. So
That's so
it works
funny.
out.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Then we kind of went through, maybe it was like what, like a 5, 6, 7-ish year gap where we like never spoke to each other at all. No contact.
Yeah, like somewhere in our college years, like you just vanished. I went about my life, and then we found each other on like Facebook, and we're just like, okay, let's be friends on Facebook, and we didn't say anything to each other.
Yeah, and
as it
then
goes.
like 2 years
Typical.
later, I just randomly send her a Facebook DM, and I'm like, hey, I have a crazy idea. Let me know if you're on board with this. I'm like, I kind of want to do a podcast about classic television series from yesteryear, and then we'll discuss them over a glass of wine. And I just think you'd be the perfect person for this. And then like she said, okay, like that was it. There was no like further like twist in the arm or anything. Because I knew
Yeah.
out of like everyone in the world that she'd be the only person that would want to do this. And it's 7 years later, and here we are.
Nice.
Still
Well, you guys are
talking,
you're very versatile for our needs as far as this goes, because like we try to choose shows that are in a certain person's lane or a certain podcast lane, and you guys kind of can cover all of it from the 90s.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
perfect.
Mhm.
we just randomly pick a decade. Sometimes we kind of like we'll do like we haven't done the 70s in a while, so then we'll go back and like do a show from the 70s.
Yeah.
Or we'll do something really
Wait,
old.
we'll do something like really random too, like other media, like
Books.
books. We've done a lot of Sweet Valley
Yeah,
High
oh yeah.
audiobooks.
Cool.
I didn't know they did audiobooks.
They
For
did.
Sweet Valley High, excuse me.
They were actually called books on tape back then, and
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
so they only did the first like 6 or 7 books we learned, right?
Something like maybe just the first 4
Okay.
or something. Like that's all we've been able to find. I think we have done everything we can
For
find.
Sweet Valley High.
Yeah, and some like lucky happy soul out there recorded them and then put them on YouTube. So we just have we had a means to listen to them,
Oh, that's
and then
brilliant.
we read out episodes and we're like, all right, we'll never do that again.
The modern technological world, we can
Yes,
bring back that stuff.
yes.
Speaking about the past, you mentioned you might have a holiday memory relating to Superman. For those of you listening, and didn't read the title, we are talking about Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman today for this episode, specifically season 4, episode 11, Twas the Night Before Mxymas. But we always like to ask the guests if they have any 90s holiday memories or anything relating to what's going on with
You want me to go first? You want me to just slide into this memory
Yeah.
lane
Have
first?
at it.
All right. So this is season 4, you said, of Lois and Clark. which
Yes,
I think
the
is the
final
last
season.
one. Okay.
Yep,
I was
correct.
totally
Thank
out
God.
of the game by this point.
Yeah.
Like, way out. I think I was only like a first season person, but I was totally into this world, and I may have asked a family member to like hand make me a Superman cape.
wow.
And I may have like 10 or 11-year-old me may have like walked around the house for like years, maybe just like wearing this
Just
thing.
maybe years, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, until you got into Sunset Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Patrick.
probably like rolled right into. You know what? I probably was watching Sunset Beach wearing my homemade Superman cape
Yeah.
that had the S on it, which I don't think Superman's cape actually has the S on it, right? It's just on the
Right.
chest.
In this series, I don't think it does.
Okay.
I-
Well, my
I-
cape had the S on it, and it was
Yeah.
good. I loved it.
I guess for a Halloween costume in like later college, I just bought a red cape, then put an S on the back with black marker, and it's definitely sitting somewhere around this house.
What's the practical use of a cape for a superhero? I don't quite understand that.
It looks cool. Is kind of the big one, and I don't know. It was established that it's from Krypton, right? Isn't that his blanket that he was?
In some continuities, it is his blanket from that he was wrapped in as a child and then sent to Earth in. Oh. And it's also like invulnerable to like bullets and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say like so maybe if he's gonna protect Lois from bullets, kind of shooting around the city.
Yeah,
sure.
Perfect shield.
Perfect shield.
Yeah, she doesn't want to get that like pillbox hat that she was wearing, all ruffled up from the elements. So Superman's there to.
There's also like some people argue the aerodynamics of it, and it's like okay. I don't think that's.
I think aerodynamics come into play when you fly via magic. You know what I mean? Like,
well, does he actually fly in this episode, or does he just kind of like float gently to the ground? I feel like that's all that really happens.
He does float.
Yes,
I mean he floats more than he flies.
I think there's one scene where he's flying for a quick second. Possibly.
It actually for like 1996-ish technology, it looked pretty good. Not gonna lie, I was like, I believe it.
For 1990s, it wasn't the worst.
Except the flying sequence in the opening credits where he's like flying someone away from the exploding building. He's just like standing upright and just floating forward and slightly up. That's really bad.
Yeah, the opening sequence undoes it also shows you like a much better show than the episode we saw.
I know, because that's the show that I remembered, and that was not the show that I got. Like this felt like what I think Kat said pre-podcast. It was like an Ion TV made for TV movie.
Yeah,
I have a real problem with. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kat.
I was just gonna say, there's like levels of like Christmas movies. This is like Ion level, which is mostly what Dean Cain does these days. Well, Terry Hatcher is off the top.
I see. He's
making the big
that I understand the comment now.
The thing that always drives me nuts is these shows that are called like The New Adventures, and then it's 2021, and you're like, this does not feel new. It's like, stop using temporal terms to describe your show, because then it's going to be dated before you know it.
That was a thing that happened a lot, though.
It was like the late 80s and 90s. They love to say The New Adventures of, and now they're the old crappy adventures of.
Well, there's The New Lassie. It's out there.
Oh, wow.
Which I am obsessed with, by the way.
That got filed back in my head and never came up again until just now.
It's back, baby.
No.
Maybe I'll send you a DVD for the holidays.
I mean, that would serve me right for giving Andrew multiple jewel things for Christmas. Kat, did you have something you wanted to volunteer before we move on to?
I just know that for a while, Dean Cain was like the Christmas movie king. He was like doing all those made-for-TV Christmas movies. And then maybe
he got
4 years ago, after he did one with Melissa Joan Hart, I haven't seen him do it.
I think that was around the time that he got political and then got canceled.
That always goes well.
Is he officially canceled, or is he just kind of?
I think he's like pseudo canceled.
Is there a register of officially canceled people that we can consult?
Well, so I remember he was the dad on Supergirl. But he only lasted through like the first season, and then the second season they killed him off immediately.
And then all of a sudden he appeared on Last Man Standing. We're like, oh, that was quick.
Yeah,
exactly.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't he die on the first episode of Supergirl? Like, I'm not really I've only like seen a few episodes of Supergirl. So
if they think he's dead, then they find out he's actually been alive. And then they also find out that Martian Manhunter's been masquerading as him. And then I think he's alive for at least a little bit of time and then dies.
There's a lot of research that I got to do later on that.
Yeah. That or it was Martian Manhunter the whole time.
Well, because he can shapeshift, right? He's a...
Yes.
I do think it's a funny thing with Hollywood, though, is they're like, we don't agree with your politics. We're going to have to kill you on the show.
because they can't in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
So back in a time when everything was the Rachel haircut, which I'm pretty sure Terry Hatcher had in this episode. We had Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman. I always say that out of all the celebrities, I look the most like Dean Cain, which is not evident right now because I'm wearing a hat, but and I have a beard.
Put on a leotard and slick your hair back, and we'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, I'll go change into my Superman costume real quick.
Yeah, you gotta do that Lego hair look that he has when he's Superman.
Yeah.
My hair, I definitely used that much gel in my hair when I was in the 90s as well.
I mean, I know Superman does this quick change thing, but like if you're going to save like an orphan from a fire, like really you're going to spend the 14 milliseconds doing your hair. Shouldn't you be getting to the scene of the accident faster?
Yeah. Right.
And where's the fire department in this metropolis, or any like law enforcement, or just any agency? Like they just don't exist, and it's just it's
three beat cops saying "Good job, Superman."
They show up out of breath and they're like, "Oh gosh, thanks, Superman." It's like, okay.
Go ahead.
I just need to know more about this world, because like, are there street level vigilantes in Metropolis that can like take care of like bank robbers and just, I don't know, like a gang fight in the alley? And instead it's like Superman like all the time stopping this stuff.
Well, and what's their judicial system like? Superman doesn't ever collect evidence. Like how often is he in court? He must be in court constantly testifying.
He just leaves them hanging like Spider-Man and then leaves.
Just bounces.
Well, he just hands them off to the cops, and they're like, "Oh, geez, thanks." He'll be back.
They can't convict anybody. It's a nightmare.
I just wanted to say before we start, after watching this episode, as a palate cleanser, I had to go and watch Smallville, and yes. I'm currently almost through season 4.
You watch 4 seasons in like a 24-hour span.
Exactly. It's I definitely. It feels like it was days, weeks even, but it definitely needed to. I needed to just. So I was like, I just need to watch one episode. I need to hear Remy Zero say "Save me," and now I'm kind of like, I'm at least half a season into Smallville. I very much. I know it's not better, but it's.
I don't know.
It's a little more modern, I guess.
Yeah.
I sat through all 57 seasons of Smallville, like original airing. I followed this show from like year to year through. Like I think it had like they said it was going to be over so many times, then it was like we just renewed it for 9 more years, and I was like, oh yes, 9 more years of this.
This was a CW show, right?
It was originally WB.
Well, sure, but they all like somehow, even though they're very different in their content, the shows from that network all have like this similar feel that I don't like.
Well, your wife makes you watch The Vampire Diaries, so I understand that.
Yeah. Well, I don't really watch it per se, but
you're in the room.
Sometimes I'm captivated. I'm like, why are all these people so attractive? Where's the fugly one? Like, that's my question.
I just learned that Nina Dobrev was from that. She was. Has anyone seen that Netflix Christmas movie that came out this year about the catfishing? Love Hard, I think it's called.
No, but this sounds exciting.
Yeah.
I've seen the trailer and I'm just like, that's a little too close to home. Since I'm dating again, so I'm gonna just like.
I thought it was, I watched it over Thanksgiving with my aunt and uncle because it's hard to pick something between the 3 of us to watch, and I'd recommend it. It's heartwarming, and they do a good cover of "Baby It's Cold Outside" without the rapey overtones.
The rapey overtones. You're so right.
Isn't this the what was it? Zoe Deschanel? She did like the female singing to the male.
Yes. Was that with Will Ferrell? No, that was the regular version. With
I thought
Buddy,
that was her,
Buddy
her
the
band.
Elf.
Like whatever her band.
Oh, She and Him.
Yeah, isn't it She and Him? And like who did it?
It's possible. They rewrote it for the movie, and it works. They improv it in the movie, but. Yeah, it works. There's articles now that say this should be the definitive version. Anyway, what was I going to say? everyone watch this when we were younger? Andrew, did you watch this?
Yeah, we watched this. When it originally aired.
I don't remember watching. I remember seeing the ads for it. I don't remember actually watching the show as a kid. Like
this was a big deal when this came out, though. This was huge
and back then it was good.
Oh, it was great. Like, I remember it came out.
Yeah, it was great.
I was in this world for, like, I would say definitely the full first season. And then I just kind of sporadically was like in and out. And then I don't know if this is exactly what happened, but I feel like there's an episode where Lois and Clark are supposed to get married and like Lois gets replaced with a robot.
that sounds very familiar.
I don't think
that sounds super familiar.
And so like it wasn't official, but they like advertised it as like the wedding episode, but it really wasn't because it really wasn't Lois. Like, she got kidnapped by.
Yeah,
but they are in fact married by the time we get to the episode and cohabitating.
It's referenced like heavily.
Yeah.
I feel like it didn't take them very long to get there. A lot of these shows now, it's like they wait 8 seasons to put the main character together with the love interest,
Like Smallville.
Yes.
I feel like they knew they were on their way out and they're like, you know what? We should just do it for real. Get it over with. That's
good. And then their ratings dropped again for the final.
Because everyone would be mad if they don't do it, but it always kind of ruins the show too.
Well, I mean, the whole crux of the show is it's Lois and Clark or Lois and Superman, and they're all like living in a modern 90s world instead of 70s.
When I was watching this, I was trying to figure out like what is the demographic for this, because I really don't think like middle school age me would have been into this episode.
It was definitely for like young adults and I guess comic book nerds.
The problem is they depart from the normal show because they have to cram some sort of Christmas theme into it,
But it's also just like the cheesy drama is definitely more like, for like adults in their like 30s.
I was like maybe my parents probably watched this like this night. They were probably actually watching this now that I'm like sitting back and thinking about it, and they probably loved every minute of it. But I would like throw this on and like, is that supposed to be Superman? They haven't showed Superman.
Yeah.
I guess isn't it like 20 minutes before he like shows up in a costume?
Yes,
it seems like that.
It's definitely, it starts as Lois and Clark. So let's get into it. 'Twas the night before Mxymas, everyone.
Yes.
My first note is Terry Hatcher was a decent Lois, and then I stopped.
Was she?
Nah. It was for the first 30 seconds she was on screen. But like, okay, the crux of this episode is that it's a time warp episode, or time loop episode, excuse me, and like so every time they loop, everyone in the continuity gets like more depressed. So I feel like all the actors were just like giving their best performance of not having any energy, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes sense.
Because it feels more like just abstractly watching this, it feels like, wow, no one was a good actor on this show, and Dean Cain is forced to carry it,
which is not. Yeah. Well, it felt never ending. It really did.
There was a point. So I watched this last night, and I had 15 minutes left, and I was exhausted. I fell asleep, and I woke up 20 minutes into the next episode that autoplayed. And I didn't realize I had fallen asleep, and I just thought it was like the continuing of the episode, and it made sense. Like I was like, oh, okay, like they finally got out of that damn time loop, and now they're I don't know, fighting the next villain of the week. They finally got rid of Mr. Mixed Plictic. What was his name?
Mixopolis. I don't know.
Mixmaster Mike.
Minxie, I don't know. There's no way to pronounce.
He has no vowels in his name because he's a fifth dimensional imp.
Well, there's a sometimes Y though.
Well, yes, that's a good point.
But it's not a vowel in the fifth dimension.
Yes,
it's never Y there.
So from Wikipedia, all the different live action iterations of Mxymas has a different pronunciation. For this one, it's Mxymas.
Imagine writing that Wikipedia article. Just imagine it.
Yeah, right.
I have a feeling
with the pronunciation.
I have a feeling they kind of like went into this episode thinking it was this way, but it was just the way that Howie Mandel pronounced it, and they couldn't go back and change it.
We're going with it.
In Smallville, I just saw this episode. His name is pronounced Mxymas. And
isn't
then,
he like a little blonde-haired kid in it too? I feel like
he's a bookie from Slovenia or some sort of Eastern European country, the Balkans, excuse me. And his family, they're not actually imps; they just have like magic powers or something to force people to do things. It was another rapey episode
in Smallville.
Exactly.
What is the fifth dimension? Like, what does it consist of?
It's just, you could see time in multiple directions.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All I know is that Heineken tastes different there. That's what I learned.
Oh, right. Also, just for continuity, in Supergirl in the Arrowverse, it's pronounced where is it? Mxypidalic.
Mxypid. Isn't that what it was pronounced in this episode?
No, that was Mxyzpitlik.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. It also
he goes hard on the Y.
Okay.
Is Howie Mandel funny in the fifth dimension? Maybe that's one of the differentiating factors.
I think we should talk about this because I'm going to forget. Why was he dressed up like Prince? Like that was Prince from Purple Rain, was it not? Like his entire outfit.
I thought it was. Go ahead.
I was gonna say they took the Purple Rain outfit and just like dropped it in black dye.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah.
And
I thought it was a Christmas themed outfit because he like popped out of the Christmas display.
Like he was a drummer boy or something.
Yeah, or like some sort of holiday themed costume.
And then it's just because Howie Mandel for some reason had Jerry curls in the 90s.
Is that his real hair or is that a wig?
I don't know.
This is his real hair. This is back when he actually still had hair.
Yeah, he wasn't always bald.
It looked different on Bobby's World though. I feel like he had like a different style.
He had more of a mullet then.
Yeah, but wasn't this contemporary? Wasn't this on at the same time, or did they just like change? Like he got a haircut on the way to the set of Lois and Clark.
He kind of felt like a low rent magician to me too. Like there was some vibes I was getting of that for some reason. Yeah.
No offense, Prince, who's dead, but like the flare and the frills coming out of the arm, the end of his arms, like it was to me that was a black version of the Purple Rain costume.
Also, like, why would you wear the most conspicuous outfit possible? If you were like, I don't know, it just seems weird to me.
Well, he made it known that he was part of this. Like he pretty much announced like what he was doing. He was here to take over. He's like, I was here 2,000 years ago. Remember, guys? Remember Rome? It was built in a day, or it wasn't built in a day, but it was shut down in a day. That was all me.
This guy wanted attention. He wanted the attention. Like he's in the bar. He makes the bartender just like vaporize into nothing.
That annoyed me because I thought they were kind of having like a good conversation. Things were going, and he just straight up like vanishes the dude. I'm like, really? Wow, what a douche.
And then he turned that barking dog at the very beginning into one of those like yapping toy poodle things that you buy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which that was the most heartbreaking moment of the episode for me.
Someone's beloved family pet has been killed in front of their eyes.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, so when everything was undone at the end, does the dog come back? Like,
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
I think we should put a pin on that because I have some issues with how it ended and how the time loop resolved itself. But I just wanted to point out when he is at the bar, you could clearly see that Howie Mandel is just like doing squats to make it look like he's like floating at the bar.
I thought he was on one of those yoga balls. Like they just brought in a yoga ball to the set that day and he just kind of bounced up and down on it.
In my head, it's funnier to imagine that there's nothing behind him and he's just like bobbing up and down. But we should get back to the time loop because we haven't set it up yet. In the opening, after we see Clark leave his wife with handfuls of bags, he has time to change into a Superman outfit. He doesn't have time to rush the bags home on the way to this fire.
Yeah, but he does his hair.
Yeah,
this is important.
The man has super speed. He leaves Lois with all of the bags.
Yeah, he could have dropped it off somewhere.
Yeah. And so like they set up the time loop. Lois and Clark make it to the Daily Planet, where it's their holiday party. Clark's parents fly in early and surprise them at the planet. Pa Kent isn't dead in this continuity, which makes me sad that Jonathan Kent's not dead.
How do we feel about the Kents in this in this version of Superman?
I was uncomfortable.
Like, where did they find Ma Kent? Like, that's where I need to know, because she just looks like a grandma at Christmas wearing her like Christmas sweater to me. Like that's just like
they were a stereotype.
It wasn't?
No, it had an American flag on it.
Oh, I thought it was like
when I was in line for coffee today, because I was watching the episode while I was waiting in the line, and I'm just like, why is this her sweater? Why is
That's more American than Christmas.
She's from Kansas.
Middle
nowhere, Kansas.
She goes to one of those thrift shops out there. She bought that for $2. That's like her go-to winter
thrift shop.
I guess.
She definitely sewed that herself. Sued.
Yeah. You know what? I wasn't gonna admit it, but she's the one who actually made me my Superman cape.
Martha Kent reached through the TV and gave you your cape.
Yeah,
that's
through
fair.
the fifth dimension.
Let's see what else happens. There's Lois's mom comes in because they were supposed to. She was supposed to meet her husband in Bora Bora or Cancun or whatever on their second honeymoon or something. Which why would you not leave together? I understand that.
Yeah,
he's not he's not even like a general in this continuity. He's just some guy, and
does she know him? Like, have they met each other?
Yeah, was it an arranged marriage?
It's a rendezvous. Yeah.
Let's see. There was a giant.
There's this very light-hearted oh, by the way, Lois's mom's an alcoholic. And you're like, it must have been like a previous episode.
Funny.
And that was probably like a very hard episode. And I was like, oh man, we should have done that one.
But even like the Kents know that she's an alcoholic. Because later on in a different time loop, they're like, should you be drinking that? Or was it in the first time loop?
I can't remember. They all just kind of blend together.
They just kind of just blend together. The only thing that really changes is the tree and Jimmy's girlfriend.
Yes. The tree starts as a giant thing that Perry was like, oh, I'm just going to spend all of my money on a tree. And then, yes, Jimmy's girlfriend comes in. She claims to be a rogue scholar, or Jimmy calls her a rogue scholar. Does anyone want to give me the definition of what a rogue scholar is? Because I probably missed the point.
I guess a scholar that's just kind of against the grain, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Okay, that's what I assumed.
Okay.
Yes.
It's actually an international postgraduate award for students to study at the University of Oxford.
Okay.
Well, hold on. So there's the Rhodes Scholar, which is what you just described. But there's a term called Rogue Scholar, which I thought was just like people using the wrong term, which is a learned or a shrewd person no longer obedient to the status quo, playful and mischievous. I think he said Rhodes Scholar.
Did he say road or rogue?
Rhodes Scholar.
Oh, good. That's so much better.
Yeah.
And makes so much more sense for the episode. No, well,
I thought it was
so
a
much
joke
less
because she
sense.
later turns into like sort of a
sex worker.
Yes, that. Or at least they allude to that.
A real
no,
housewife
they
of
straight up say it
Metropolis.
at one point, don't they?
Yeah, I believe
think
they
they
do.
Well,
I
that's
am
when Lois
pretty
gives
sure.
her the makeover.
Right. Yes.
So
Okay.
90s.
God
Yeah.
about the makeover scene.
Which somehow she just has all the clothes that the girl was originally wearing in the first iteration of
Right?
Time Loop.
I was like, how did that
With
happen?
her.
I would have loved to have seen more about Mr. Potluck's backstory. Instead, they gave us 6 minutes dedicated to a Lois makeover scene.
Yes. Let's see. Clark goes off to save some orphans. Or no, he goes. What happens? He stops a bank robbery.
Yes.
He catches the guy falling off the building from the top of the bank robbery. I think the fire that he put out earlier. A bunch of orphans were
displaced.
This is at this point I wrote Dean Cain is a horrible Clark Kent.
Poor Dean.
And then Mxy shows himself and puts him in a time loop, essentially.
So the thing I didn't understand, I don't know if I missed like a key element of the episode, but why does the guy keep falling off?
Oh, he's trying to kill himself.
Oh, yeah.
They alluded to the fact that he fell off, but in reality, he jumped off.
Yeah. By the last iteration, Clark realizes that the guy was trying to kill himself and is like,
okay,
did you jump off the building on purpose? And the guy's like,
oh, you got me, Superman.
Oh,
Clark went 10, 15 loops to figure this out.
I mean, Dean Cain is not a good Superman either.
I mean, he figured it out, but the thing that drove me nuts is like, he's trying to explain it to Lois, and he's doing the worst job explaining it.
That they're
and the other thing that drives me nuts is like, she's married to Superman, but like, this is hard for her to believe.
You
know what I mean?
Thing too. I was like, all right, there's a guy like running around town from another dimension, and she's married to Superman from another planet. Has had 4 years of wild adventures, and it's like we're in a time loop, and she's like, it's impossible. How, like the physics make zero sense. Like, there's. I need evidence of this Superman.
He's like, no, I'm just lying to you.
He can. And Superman, the movie, he can just kind of spin the world back.
Like, why is he even stuck in this time loop? Why doesn't he just go spin the world back?
Would that work, though, if you're battling fifth dimensional magic? Wouldn't that just get stuck in the time loop as well?
And we're on an ABC budget.
Yeah, that's true.
We can't just take the clip from the 70s where he's flying around the Earth and put it in letterbox format, which I'm pretty sure they've done before. I also like to Andrew's point when he's trying to explain to Lois that they're stuck in a time loop. Groundhog's Day came out like 2-3 years prior to this episode. It's in the pop culture lexicon. He could have just said it's Groundhog Day, like the movie.
And if she doesn't know what it is, you go out to your local Blockbuster, you pick it up, and you watch it in the 2 hours you have before it turns 4 o'clock, or whatever it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't even have to watch the whole movie. As soon as like they figure out the first time loop, like, all right, that's what's going on.
Once you get to the montage of Bill Murray just killing himself, it's perfect.
Oh my gosh.
Superman's like, I've been doing this literally for the last 20 years, just stuck in like. I was wondering if like maybe he was stuck in this longer than we were led to believe.
I always like randomly during a day, I like to just say to someone, I've been reliving this day over and over again for 1,000 years.
To see if anyone catches on to it.
Yep.
You and me both, bud.
And now that's when it gets weird. But yeah, it's so with each iteration of the time loop, Mxymas says that the humans can't stand having their time repeated, so they become more and more depressed, which somehow they lose hope or something to that extent, which somehow turns into Perry having already like the established thing is that he purchased a giant tree, and that's before the loop starts, yet somehow the tree starts getting smaller and smaller with each iteration.
He buys it before the loop.
And then he's like, oh, I found it in the dumpster out back.
The thing about trees too is like, I mean, the difference in cost between a nice tree and a bad tree isn't that great.
Well,
you know what I mean?
That was
like,
a big tree.
Yeah, I know, but he's like, okay, this tree's $200. This one's $80. Like, he runs a newspaper. I don't think it really makes a difference. You know what I mean?
Fair point. Yeah, newspapers, for our younger listeners out there, are things that giant bundles of paper with the news. It was like the internet before.
They would deliver the internet to your house every morning.
Yes. It was the front page of Reddit printed.
And you had your you get the smudges on your hands when you try to read it on a nice hot summer day.
Also, like at any point is Clark Kent going to do any journalism by chance at any time?
I feel all right. That's why I was kind of getting to, he's kind of like the fire department and the law enforcement of this city, because he has this like super hearing. So he hears like, oh, that's a 5-alarm fire going on in like, Main Street. I got to go there. And he probably had something to turn in like 20 minutes. And then Lois is like, I guess I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Like, does Clark ever do any reporting? Because Lois is the one always doing the reporting.
I feel like no.
Jimmy's the one who
She's the
takes the
Pulitzer
pictures.
Prize
Like,
winner.
what does Clark actually do?
He just,
I
like,
don't know.
He writes the sports section.
some of the classifieds, maybe.
Yeah. No, he doesn't even write them. He just
Is he just there to
archives them and
build
puts-
Lois up?
Yes.
that
Could be.
as well.
Because that's what he
And,
does spend
like-
most of his time in the office doing when he's not trying to convince her they're in a time loop.
And what does Lois write about? Because I feel like her articles are only ever about Superman, like the ones that I remember anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, all of her Pulitzers are for having interviews with Superman.
She has a fashion column. That's it.
She's like Carrie Bradshaw of Metropolis. And then Superman came along and it's like, you know what? I can't do that anymore. Like, I get this new man to just kind of follow around, and who is he? What is he? Where is he from?
Speaking of Lois, at one point she calls Mxymas Mazel Tov.
That seems offensive.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
for
Especially
a
considering
show
he is
full-
Jewish.
I forgot about
Howie Mandel.
that part.
It was the
Yeah.
90s. It was these things just kind of were allowed on
Yeah.
network television.
Jokes about Jewish people, calling people the wrong terms for sex worker, suicide jokes, always funny. Not really.
Yeah.
It's just
Dog
very
murder,
90s.
Dog
Yeah.
murder.
Perry goes into his office, and because his sons won't come to Christmas, he's gonna play Russian roulette with himself
Oh my God, it's so
Oh, yeah,
dark.
yeah.
at one point. Like, and then Clark's solution to this is there's a bunch of orphans without a home, and brings them in. So
You can play Santa for
no,
them,
sorry,
not for your own kids, but for these just random kids.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just bring into your office.
yeah, actually, sorry, he was going to kill himself because he couldn't be Santa for his own kids,
That's reasonable.
who are grown men at this point, I believe.
But he's gonna come back. Like, it's not gonna be like he's not forever dead. It's
Yeah.
gonna be the next day, and he's
I
just
feel
gonna,
like he doesn't know that.
in the
though.
time loop.
okay.
No, because didn't Mixie say something to the extent of once they start dying, they don't reappear in the loop?
Oh, then
Yeah.
like who's running
wait.
the planet?
That seems
the
like
Daily
crap
Planet.
to me.
Actually, that's not true because Pa Kent has a heart attack in one of the
Yeah.
loops.
Yeah, and
I
then
feel
he's
like
back.
we've lost him a few times.
Yeah.
It isn't like the way to
Always
stop him
die.
from having a heart attack is to have him do like yoga or something.
Yes. Terry Hatcher's Lois Lane teaches yoga to the Kents.
Yes, the American
give them
Medical
hope.
Association recognizes yoga as a treatment for acute heart attack. It's true.
Yeah, but you're gonna have one later on the day, and you're gonna just stretch for 20 minutes. Like that just stopped everything from.
Oh, yeah. So I mean, it was the stress that was killing him. So being distressed that didn't give him the heart attack.
I feel like he in Smallville doesn't he die from a heart attack? It's
Yes.
the only thing
Yeah.
Superman can stop.
And same with the original movie. Usually that's what happens, except for the current continuity where he's where Clark saves him from the truck before Twister takes it off. And then there's the dog is still stuck in the truck. So Pa Kent runs back into the hurricane to release the dog from his truck. And then with a look tells Clark not to save him. It's like, damn it, Kevin Costner, you're the worst version of Pa Kent. I would take this version of Pa Kent over Kevin Costner Pa Kent.
You know what? I didn't mind this version of Pa Kent. I just didn't like this version of Ma Kent. She was like too Ma Kent for me. Like
She was like Aunt May from the early Spider-Man movies.
Yeah. Not even like that. It's just like, yeah, maybe, but it was just like, where did they find her? Like, they couldn't have gotten like a recognizable name of the time, like Betty White or something.
That would have been
Blockhead.
awesome. Betty White. Well, was Betty White that old back
She's
then?
probably like
She's
well,
always.
she's gonna be 100 in like 15 minutes. So.
Oh, geez.
Probably
Yeah,
by
I
the time this
guess so.
episode drops.
Just that would have been the right
Yeah.
right
Betty
age.
White will be 100 in January.
Okay. That's
Jeez,
close.
that's crazy. So to solve the problem, Lois was fixing the people at the planet to give them hope. And then the solution to beating fifth dimensional Ips, for those of you out there that don't know, is to make them read their name aloud backwards. That's why Andrew in that Family Guy episode,
Yes.
Alex Trebek has to read his name backwards.
Zebert Kella. What?
That one, Zebert Kibla, or something like that.
So somehow Lois becomes aware of the time loop, and I think I missed this like very important break in development of the episode.
She eventually believes Clark because he makes her research fifth dimensional imps, and she says something to the extent of, "You could either whack them with a shillelagh, or I don't remember what the other thing was."
How do you even find information on fifth dimensional imps in 1990s? It's like, what is she digging through to find this information?
There's a microfiche library in the basement level of Daily Planet, and she goes down there and she's just digging through the archives. Maybe like something happened in like the early 20s. Like maybe the stock market crash was caused by Mxy, and there's some like weird documentation of it that she came across.
I mean, the fact that she found like the solution in the read his name backwards somewhere in those books is insane. But it's how they easily wrap up the episode.
Well, because they had 9 minutes left, and they didn't want this to be a two-parter because the Christmas break is coming, and it's not coming back till like mid-January. So.
Oh yeah,
people forget.
Can't be stuck in a time loop over Christmas.
So what does it sound like backwards? I can't remember.
Well, so they write it onto a present and give the present to Mxy, and it's Kebler. I don't even remember. It's
Kibbles and bits.
The thing is, if that was the only thing that could kill you, would you not always verify that you weren't accidentally saying that?
Or like, how do you not recognize your own name backwards as you're reading it off of a card?
Yeah, I feel like you would have taken the time to like look at what your name is backwards so you could avoid it in the future. Unless it was spelled phonetically and it fooled him. I don't know.
Well, he thinks he's so much smarter than them. He thinks he's a god. Because he says the planet only needs one god, and he has to get rid of Clark so he can be the god. But the thing is, Clark doesn't really act like he thinks he's a god. He's just like, I'm just going to do good.
He's Superman.
Yeah.
Well, there is like a whole thing where he like makes a bargain with Superman Mxy, and he's like, I'll let the world go back to normal, but like I have to be the god. And I'm like, actually, that doesn't seem like that bad of a break in development. Like I could probably live in that world if I had to.
Yeah.
I feel like at one point he actually says to Superman, "Let's make a deal," which is sort of funny considering.
Predicting the future.
Yeah.
Deal
or no deal, Superman. You know what? Maybe whoever came up with deal or no deal saw this episode, saw the way he enunciated that line. He's like, that's the guy I want in 10 years.
They just remembered offhand. I just want to. They defeat Mxy, and then everything the tree transforms back from something found in the alley back into the giant tree from before. But nothing else transforms back. Like over the course of the episode, Lois is like, "My article sucks," and throws it away. And it's like with each iteration, does her article get worse and worse? And then Superman's just like, "No, your writing's amazing," whatever, and gives her hope.
Like he would know.
Yeah. But it's like Jimmy's girlfriend still is like from the iteration where she was a sex worker and Lois redressed her in her original clothing that she just happened to have on hand. And like, did Pa Kent not have a heart attack this time because of the yoga? Like that was the storyline. Like the through line from that final time loop, everything stuck around except for like the orphans were still there. The orphans were still like Perry was in a Santa Claus outfit with the orphans. the most important question for this episode was Jimmy's girlfriend no longer a Rhodes Scholar and currently a sex worker?
And are those things really mutually exclusive?
Fair enough.
Maybe they just like a comboed like a little bit from this world, a little bit from that world, and just kind of mix them all together. Maybe they were looking to do a soft reboot of the show because ratings are on the decline.
Oh yeah, they could have done anything with the new continuity.
Yeah.
So that takes us through Twas the Night Before Mxymas. Is there any final thoughts from everyone before we close out this episode?
I was going to say there was like a long period of time where Kat and I have been talking about doing Lois and Clark for a very special podcast. And I'm like, I think that ship has sailed after watching this.
Are you sure? There's probably so many more episodes.
True. Maybe you could do a good episode.
85 more episodes. I think there's like 86 episodes total, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I kind of remember the pilot being very thrilling, though, for some reason. I don't know.
But would that fit a very special podcast theme? There's got to be more episodes like this where it's like, stay in school, don't become a sex worker. Stay happy, don't throw yourself off a building.
Yeah, that really. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I feel like we just covered that in ER. Don't throw yourself off a building.
Exactly.
That is true. That was the hot Thanksgiving episode that we just did a couple weeks ago. There was it was a heavy episode.
Yeah,
it wasn't just
always.
about a guy who's not into meat who eats turkey. There's always the heavy storyline.
The thing that ER does well is that like some person suffers a gruesome death and they're like, let's have food. They just I think it goes to show you that did
they do that with the Christmas episode?
Like in that actual scenario, doctors are like, ER doctors are like, well, that was an awful day. Let's have Thanksgiving dinner anyway and have fun because otherwise you would, not have a good life.
Papa John's is still delivering.
Yeah.
Kat, final thoughts?
This is the same year the ABC family, I think it was Fox Family then, did the Christmas Every Day movie with Eric Von Detten that would air for years after. I just looked that up. I was like, what year did that movie come out? Where he
Eric Von Detten,
Christmas over and over and over.
Was that Blink? He was from
Brink.
Brink,
yes.
movie? Yes.
Yes. It was Brink 182. That's what you're thinking of.
Yes. I swear to God, there was a promotion for Disney Channel, that movie plus Blink 182 concert that they called Brink 182.
He's the original
burned
drummer.
into my head.
He was there before Travis.
Andrew, final thoughts for the episode?
Never again, first of all. It took me about half the episode, by the way, to figure out it was Howie Mandel. That's just where I am right now in my life. And no, it was really terrible. But I guess it makes sense that this was the final season. It's all coming clear now.
For me, my last note is, wow, that was terrible. I'm glad I picked this out of the 3 or 4 that they did. You're welcome. And that's it for this holiday edition of Namely 90s. Thank you to Patrick M. Dunn and Kat Halstead, the author, from A Very Special Podcast, for coming on. Can you let our listeners know where to find you two?
Yeah, I'll let her do it because she has this whole like spiel written down. It's great.
I was like, I knew you were going to do this. Follow us on Twitter at Very Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram at A Very Special Podcast. Do not accept invitations. And then averyspecialpodcast.com, saltyrockmedia.com, and pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find them.
You forgot about our Pinterest, our most important.
I don't know what that is. I don't even know the last time I went on Pinterest.
Long time joke we got.
And as always, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Namely90s with a 90s, or find our personal accounts at bschwitty and at Namely Andrew, and tell us what you want us to talk about in future episodes. If you'd like to support the show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Namely90s, also with a 90s. Finally, you can also contact us through our website, Namely90s.com. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Mxymas, Deezer, TuneIn, Good Pods, iHeart, and wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm Brandon. That's Andrew. Thank you one final time. To Patrick M. Dunn and Kat Halstead, the author, from A Very Special Podcast. And Merry Christmas Eve, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
Christmas Eve.
Deuces.